Hello, everyone. Welcome to North and South Podcasts. This is Tim. Hope you're all doing well. I've been told my voice is a bit boring, so I'm going to try and use more voice range today. Maybe that's just one person's opinion, but I'll take it on board. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I did a podcast a few weeks ago speaking about having 5 positive days where I may have negative thoughts and negative feelings, but I don't then act them out. And I try to be as positive as possible in my interactions. So I'm going to give a little bit of a feedback on that. This was I first heard this from Tony Robbins talking about having one good day. And then if you have one good day, try and do it for 5. And then if you don't get there, reset. And then weigh up the 5 days afterwards. But it's been quite interesting. And I have tried to stick to it, and I have largely stuck to it over the last 5 days. So, as you know, I'm into mental health and well-being, creativity, history, politics, and financial security in these trying times, even in the developed world, for everyone, apart from the super rich. And I want people to get involved in North and South as much as possible. Please like, subscribe, share, listen to the podcast on YouTube or on Spotify. And if you can also follow me on TikTok and Twitter, that would be great, at North Podcasts. So, getting back to these 5 days, how did that go? Well, it was challenging, but I did largely stick to it. Although I didn't have 5 nice days, they were actually very challenging because my subconscious was pushing back against these positive interpretations of negative thoughts and feelings when they arose. I had a potential road rage incident that I just let wash over me, and this fella was being a bit over the top in his white van on the motorway, and I had my son in the back. I don't think the fella knew I had a baby in the back, but he kicked off, and generally I'm a good driver and I don't get involved in road rage because it's not good for you. And I think it was Joseph Goldstein, the meditation Buddhist specialist, mindfulness specialist, who advocates the Vipassana school of Buddhism. And what he said is that anger has a poisoned root but a honeyed tip. It sometimes feels good, it gives your ego a massage, but it just physiologically damages you. And I always remember that with road rage. So I'll just let this wash over me. The people you live with, who you work with, who you have romantic relationships with, can often be very difficult, even if you're quite easygoing, because we all have quirks and things that rub people up the wrong way. And these are the things that you've got to discover and iron out early in relationships and try and manage. I think the first argument in a relationship is often very telling in how the longevity of the relationship will be, or how long it will be. And it's quite interesting to look at the first big argument as it is and look at how it goes and then use that as a predictor for how things are going to go. It's quite interesting. But there were a few potential issues that arose in the 5 days, and I just kind of let them wash over me, which doesn't mean I backed down. I just stated my boundary, and I just said, you're making me feel like this when you do that. And I also asked them if they were like, okay. They didn't like that because I wasn't getting involved in the dance. That their ego wanted the reaction. Because I didn't get involved in the dance, they didn't like that and they resented it. And then I had to be even calmer with their secondary or tertiary attempts to assert their ego. So that was quite tough as well, keeping calm and equanimous. I did a podcast on equanimity. I did find a happy medium to things where I'm just kind of scooting along, doing okay, not getting too upset over little things and just letting those little things wash over me and then trying to interpret them in a positive light, which isn't to say that you bend over, but you just be as positive as possible in stating your case if necessary. And I found that very, very useful in terms of conflict resolution. Negative thoughts and emotions come at us all the time, and I did a psychology course once that estimated that 50% of the time our mind is wandering, and the negative thoughts and emotions have kept us alive through evolution. Like, what's going on over there? What's going on over here? What's this person trying to do to me? And that's okay, providing you don't let that dominate. And I was able to manage those negative thoughts and emotions for the 5 days. When those emotions linger and then behavior is triggered, that's when there's a real problem. And it's about staying calm between the signal and the reaction. And it may well mean that you leave things. Now, obviously, if someone breaks into your house, like just saying to looking at them going, I'm going to keep cool in this situation, that's not going to help. The other night, my house alarm went off and I ran down the stairs. I was asleep 1 second, running down the stairs the next. False alarm, it just went off. I don't know what happened. But when I got to the bottom, I wasn't going to start, talking about mindfulness with a potential thief in the house. That wasn't the top of my mind. So it's not that we're silly and we let our guard down or we just turn the other cheek, but we are assertive but also positive at the same time. I think another thing is, in terms of if you've got anxiety, depression, or things like that, is being aware that you might be on the edge of a dip if you're not careful and not going there. And if necessary, feeling a bit down and feeling the emotion and processing the emotion, but just not letting it dominate you. Have an hour or 2 hours where you don't feel great, but just don't let it dominate you. Just try and manage it and get through that little downward spiral, as it were, or that downward feeling. Don't let it turn into a downward spiral. Sorry about all the fireworks. It is the 5th of November, as I recall this. The big part of you that will push back is the ego, the egotistical you, the sub-personalities within you, where the ego dominates. And it's about saying to the ego, this isn't about you. This is about me as a holistic person. Don't let that ego dominate. So that was something I kept saying to myself. I did also challenge myself to be 25% better in all my interactions, and I did largely do it. But throughout all this time, if you'd have said to me, did you feel good throughout this? The answer was no. There was a lot of pushback from me subconscious, and there was a lot of pushback from the me within me, or the sub personalities within me, that didn't like me not being aggressive and not fighting back and arguing and things like that. So it was actually quite challenging to manage that, and I think that was interesting. I have kind of took it beyond the 5 days and I've tried to move forward with it, but there's something that is very clear about this, is that neuro-linguistic programming and cognitive behaviour techniques, etc., which are excellent ways of improving the here and now and changing your thinking and changing your behaviours. They're very good, but there's a lot of root and branch about you that you need to really, 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 really work on. And if you try and have a superficial, let's have a nice positive 5 days, a lot of those issues deep within you come up, and you do need to challenge those inner demons, and you need to do an emotional journal, and you might need to write about your life and what was difficult and the difficult things, and try and come to terms with them to move on, because we can't really just suppress all those things because they come back to bite us if we're not careful. So having 5 good days and saying, right, I'm going to be 25% better, that's a noble intent, but you will find that there's hooks pulling you back in your subconscious to do with your youth and to do with your upbringing and to do with the way people behaved around you in your upbringing, and also any adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, any of them that you've got going on in your background, difficult things. Do the ACEs online and see if you've been affected by adverse childhood experiences. Even if you haven't, you'll still have gone through a lot of traumatic stuff in your life. So it's important to acknowledge that. But that can be quite eye-opening, to acknowledge that you've been through some adverse childhood experiences, and you can do that online. But saying that you're going to have 1 or 5 good days and being a bit better, that's great, but you do need to look at your past as part of that process, and that's something that I've certainly done. And I think that the emotional journal and the looking at your past and try to bring those demons out into the open, they're kind of back there somewhere, get them out into the open, your strengths and weaknesses. Be okay with the fact that you've got strengths and weaknesses. I'll do another podcast on that. Just say, yeah, I'm good at that, and have the confidence to say I'm not good at that, and tell other people, listen, that I'm meant to do, or that you've asked me to do, I really struggle with that, I'm going to need your help. That takes a lot of confidence and a lot of, well, certainly high self-esteem in order to do that. So that's something else that I definitely recommend. If you were to try and have better days, be prepared to look into your past as well. As I've said before, a counsellor can be excellent if you get the right counsellor in terms of accessing these kind of things. One other thing I also wanted to speak about was the idea of forgiveness, because the idea of forgiveness is the idea that there's a lot of stuff that we take through life, and a lot of it's to do with the fact that we haven't forgiven other people. But it's not about other people. Sometimes you need to forgive yourself for things you've done. You need to be open about things you've done wrong and forgive yourself. And by that I also mean, going back to the 5-day thing, is the negative thoughts that you have, other people don't cause them. You can think, oh, that person made me feel like this. No, they didn't. You felt like that as a result of what that person did. And you are your own worst enemy. You are the biggest bully you'll ever face. Those aspects of your mind that want you to just stay in your cave. I'm referring to Plato's cave, and not go out and explore the outside world. Stay in your cave, stick to what you know. That's the way we are. That's the way we like it. Your ego's trying to preserve its negative idea of you that it can control. And you've got to look at how you speak to yourself. So when you have those 5 good days, other people aren't the problem, it's you. Other people may do things that bring out the worst in you, but don't let them bring out the worst in you. And if they do your emotional journal and investigate that, or if necessary, talk to your counsellor. Right, the forgiveness idea, this is quite important to me, because I always think of Nelson Mandela when he said, being angry with someone else is trying to get back at them by taking poison for yourself. So you want them to have the poison, and what you do is you swallow the poison to make yourself feel bad by being angry at them. Doesn't work, and it just makes everyone more miserable. And we need to forgive people. We need to let go of things. We often carry things through life, and let go of it. Forgive people and move on. Learn the lessons and forgive them. You know, if you have a bad time with another person or with a group of people, forgive them and you get better and learn from it. Move on. If necessary, cut yourself off from them people. Or if they're people you're close with, you might have to work on that relationship so that you get better. And it's not easy. None of this is easy. Another one is politics. I've spoken before about like how podcasts and watching the news and going online, you know, it just reinforces misery sometimes. And don't let it get to you. By all means, stay informed and have opinions and have arguments that interest you about philosophy or politics or the world we live in, but don't let it dominate you. Don't let it turn into a negative person. So reach out to other people who've maybe hurt you as well. If you haven't got a good relationship with other people, reach out. I was talking to somebody the other day who was having a bit of difficulty with someone close to them, and I said, buy them some flowers tonight. He went, nah, I'm not doing that. I said, go buy them some flowers tonight. You make the first move. So I'll speak to him again when I see him next week and just see if he did it or not. But reach out, folks, because one day that person won't be here. Sometimes the other person might reject you. That's down to them. So invest in your relationships. Relationships make us happy, but sometimes they can go wrong. Do your side of things. You can control you. You can't control other people. Peace.